Hello, I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back if you are a regular subscriber, and welcome if you are new. I do a forecast each time that the sun changes signs. It is getting ready to move through the fixed fire sign of Leo, and what I'll talk about are the different configurations and energy combinations that I see that I think are of note. So here are the start times for each section. Hope you enjoy and thank you for tuning in. Okay, so welcome to the overview section. This is where I try to give you an idea of exactly what the components are, because some of you are more advanced in your awareness of astrology, and so I want to help you out, but I also want to keep people who are new aware of what's going on and explain it in a way that they understand. But the first thing we need to look at is who's moving around up in here, because we have a bunch of planets, including the personal planets, and especially the personal planets moving. So this is Mercury, Venus, and Mars, all changing signs during this cycle. And what is important about that is that Venus and Mercury move into Virgo. You guys who pay attention to this know that the North Node and Jupiter are also in Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and it is also a mutable sign, which brings us to Mars. Mars is moving out of Scorpio finally. Yay. And moving into Sagittarius. Oof, you know, it's going to be connecting with Saturn very soon. That's a mutable energy, and that's a fire energy. Other things moving around during this cycle include, let's look at the retrograde and coming out of retrograde situations. So coming out of retrograde is Saturn on the 13th of August. And again, it will be next to Mars in Sagittarius. In fact, those two will meet up on August 24th in the Virgo cycle, but we'll get to that in the Virgo video. The other news around the whole retrograde, coming out of retrograde, going into retrograde thing, Uranus in Aries right now is going to go retrograde during this cycle. So we have a lot of movement amongst the personal energies, and of course that configuration brings that mutable cross back into play. So let's look at some of the specific dates and charts to get going. Okay, so let's look at the chart when we start this cycle. You'll notice a lot in fire, and that fire trend is going to continue. So at the beginning, of course, this is a video about the sun going through Leo, so we have the sun there. We also have Mercury and Venus in the fire sign of Leo. But you look over there to Aries, and you have Uranus, and you look to the third fire sign of Sagittarius, and you have Saturn. Now, what's going to happen during this cycle, there will be a little bit of a change. As I mentioned, Mercury and Venus move out of the fire sign of Leo into Virgo, which is an earth sign, and then we have Mars, though, taking up the fire energy in the personal planets and moving into Sag. So I want you to look at the charts here from the beginning of the cycle to the new Leo moon, which is going to be big. That first week of August, definite hotspot. Like 6 of the planets that I pay attention to are in fire signs. So there is going to be a fire emphasis, even with Venus and Mercury coming out of fire signs. They are just replaced by robust Mars. So the fire energy is not going to let up. And even when we get to the end of this cycle, you look at this chart for, you know, late Leo in its strongest, most lionly way, we still have a strong emphasis because we'll be getting close to that Mars-Saturn conjunction in Sagittarius. So the heat is not going to be turned down. Here are some dates for some specific fire connections, so you can see those and maybe, you know, mark those. in your calendar. If you're a fire sign, you're more impacted. You could look at your chart and see where the planets are in Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and see how those things are going, you know, where they are in your chart, the planet that they impact, and the house is how you look at and figure out, oh, we have all these connections. So I always recommend getting your chart and looking at how these things impact you. Other element of this is the Virgo thing that I talked about at the beginning. So let's focus in on that, but we are going to have fire all the way through, but we're also going to have this Virgo thing going on. So let's get to that part. All right, so let's talk about the Virgo energies coming in, because as we have Venus and Mercury changing signs moving into Virgo, we are going to start to really feel that emphasis in the middle of all things Leo. So when we talk about Virgo, we talk about organization, being thoughtful, planning. It is Mercury ruled, it is mutable, and it is Earth. Now, as you can see from the chart, those guys are going to connect with Jupiter, which is finally picking up all of its steam and moves past its retrograde shadow. I'm going to mention that at the end of the video. That's a little plus for you guys who stay and watch that, but I'm really just trying to cover everything. So this Virgo thing, this Virgo Stellium, in fact, going to be very important, because as I've mentioned several times, Virgo is playing a double role right now, and we've seen this with Jupiter in Virgo. So it's an earth sign, so it's providing some grounding, and it's connecting with Pluto, which is in an earth sign in Capricorn. So we do have an element of stabilization. Thing is, all these things are in a mutable sign when they're in Virgo, so that's an element of change, and so that is a really tough balance, and it's a tough thing to get right. As the situation unfolded in Turkey, the failed coup, as of the taping of this video, what I was saying to my friend, and it seemed like those ideas are totally at odds. How do you have stability, you know, a government that isn't overthrown, and yet needed changes in democracy, that kind of thing. So it's, again, this really seemingly nearly impossible task or combination of Earth stability, mutable, being changed. But the other element about this is that it brings the energy of that mutable cross that, you know, we've been talking about since last year. I think if you follow astrology, everybody's talked about, you know, the grand mutable cross, and then now the mutable T-square that comes back into play big time. And we are also headed towards next month's, or September's, I should say, next Saturn Neptune Square. More on that when the sun goes into Virgo in terms of my videos. But because Neptune is an outer planet, and this square is, you know, loose right now, or not exact, it's still in effect. We had the last one on June 17th. We had a little bit of a respite during the Cancer cycle, but the energy will begin to build as we go into this cycle. And the other thing that I want to mention is Mercury coming into Virgo is where Mercury is going to have its next retrograde. So I had mentioned at the beginning of the year, all 4 of our Mercury retrogrades are in the earth signs, big aspect this year. And so though Mercury will not go into retrograde until the 30th of August, it will hit its shadow point during this cycle. So lots for you guys to sort of process in that Virgo way. But when we think about Virgo, we think about daily routines, we think about our health, and mostly we think of how to be of service. So we got a whole lot of Virgo coming in, again, catalyzing the energies of that T-square. So think Virgo, think organized, think stay calm. What is that expression the British are using? Keep calm, carry on. All right, so let's get to the last part. All All right, so thank you. First of all, thank you so much for watching. And I hope this didn't seem too disjointed. I'm experimenting with new places to record in my house. And because I don't want to be cooped up in the office. It's summer, we can't be cooped up in the office. But this camera like runs out of things if I go on a long spiel. So I have to like do a little segment, make sure I got that. So sorry for the technical explanation. That having been said, your reward for watching through all this is the news that, yippee, we are moving past the shadows of the retrogrades. Now, you people who know astrology know what that means. For the rest of you, don't even worry. It just means we're getting momentum. I'm ready to run out of my chair, right? I can get up and start jogging. Because it involves Mars, which is our energy. So I am finally, like, this is fantastic, because if you go back to my Sun through Capricorn video, you will see I said at the beginning of the year, like, Lore, we are starting this year with nothing but like sand being thrown in our face, the wind being, in our face. And that first week of 2016 was just one thing after the other, including the Mercury retrograde, the Jupiter retrograde, Mars. And this is so interesting because now Mars is moving past the shadow of its retrograde. So we move past the place it was on April 17th. It got all the way up into Sag, then had to start going backwards. And just, as you know, the end of June got all the way back to 23 degrees of Scorpio. Now it can start getting momentum, and now it moves past where it had gotten all the way up to on April 17th. Same deal with Jupiter. Jupiter, which magnifies energy and brings more of everything. It is finally past all that. I mean, you guys who watch these videos, and so many people experience the first 4 months of this year while Jupiter went retrograde in Virgo, we're just running against the wind, to use Bob Seger's old phrase. So, it stopped going backwards on May 9th, but when they stop, it takes a while to build up that momentum, and then they finally get up to the point they were before they went retrograde. And so when we talk about this cycle, we actually get to move past where we've been blocked all year long. We truly get into new territory. And yes, I know, Mercury is going to go into the shadow of its next retrograde, but we got that. Mercury is nothing. Given what we've all been going through. So anyways, you guys, thank you for watching. We do get to move truly into some new territory. We are going to have a lot to think about and study with the Virgo influence coming into effect, but we can also stay very passionate and very energized because we have all that fire from beginning. Even with the changeover, the little handoff of the torch, so to speak, the week before the Olympics, beginning of August, that little hot spot, we do have fire throughout this cycle. So stay enthusiastic, keep going, and I will see you when the sun goes into Virgo, and we'll go more into the mutable thing, one more time, right? All right. If you need to reach me for a reading, come over to Elizabeth's Oracle, and I think that's it. So thank you so much for tuning in, and really I know it's a little cray out there, but it doesn't have to be in your world. So just really take good care of yourselves, take care of each other, and come at it with a big Leo heart. Okay, see you next month.